Professor Michael Clarke. And Michael, what did you make of the content of what we heard there?
Yeah, it's very interesting, Jane. As expected, I mean, Dan Kane said some very interesting things from the military point of view. And we got some figures that we hadn't had before. I mean, we sometimes wondered, how, 2,000 ships stranded. Most people say that sounds a bit too many. I'd seen figures as low as 800 ships stranded. Pete Hegseth actually gave a figure of 1,550. That sounds plausible. So 1,500 rather than 2,000. And yes, 20,200 mariners stranded, which is the human cost. So those figures are interesting. And Pete Hegseth talked about the dome, that the Americans have put a dome, they feel, over the straits, and a dome that consists of surveillance from space, from drones, that they can bring down anything, they can address any threat within that area to allow ships to move through. So if the Iranians try anything, but with rockets, with ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, with boats, they think that they can deal with it. And Pete Hegseth then said, he said, 2 ships have come out, hundreds are lining up, he said, hundreds. And we are in touch with all of the maritime organisations. Well, as of this morning, that would have been a surprise to the maritime organisations because they were saying that they didn't know anything about it. The Baltic and International Maritime Council said we didn't hear anything about it, and the Commercial Shipping Organisation hasn't heard anything about it. So maybe they are talking to some ships. I'm guessing they might be talking to American-flagged ships individually, but Hegseth said hundreds are coming out. And, well, we'd see. Or hundreds are lining up to come out. Well, they will or they won't by the end of the week, and we'll see if this action works. And Dan Kane was really interesting from a military point of view because he talked about the 82nd Airborne, who are the paratroopers. I mean, they're one of the 2 very elite units in American military, the 101st, the Screaming Eagles, and the 82nd, the All-America Division, as they call them. And we think of these are combat troops, they parachute in and they're the toughest of the tough. But he said the brigade that we have there of the 82nd are coordinating everything, electronically, from space, from cyber. He said they are in control of all 5 domains of warfare, which is air, land, sea, space and cyber. And the whole operation over Iran, over the Straits and over the convoy route, or the demined route that these hundreds of ships are going to pass through, are being coordinated, not at CENTCOM, but by the 82nd. And the reason I'm sort of very interested in that is this is 6th generation warfare. This is what 6th generation warfare is supposed to look like. And I can't think of a bigger example in the last 5 years of all of this being put together in one operation. So it'll be very interesting to see if it works. I think there'll be staff colleges all over the world who'll be watching this with tremendous interest.
Just remind our viewers what 6th generation warfare is.
Yeah, 6th generation warfare is the generation of robotics, artificial intelligence, the generation of drones, which in this case, the Americans are, in the old days, like 5 years ago, the Americans would have had to sail into the Strait of Hormuz and fight the Iranians for it and gain control and remove the threat. They feel they don't have to do that now. Now they're going to reach in and contain the threat, such as to reassure all the tanker owners that they can move out safely. See if it works. It's a big operation. 6th generation warfare, robotics.
And this dome of safety, this red, white and blue dome, has echoes, doesn't it, of Israel's Iron Dome that they use to protect themselves from incoming fire.
It is, but it's more than that. It isn't just a dome against missiles coming in. It's a dome which would target ships, any Iranian ships, any boats, any submarines. We know that the Iranians have got mini submarines. They don't seem to have used them yet, and not many have been recorded as having been destroyed. So they think that this dome is not just a sort of an air defence dome, it's a dome of warfare in which the Americans have they think, what's known as a kill chain, whereby they can see something developing, identify it, track it, target it and destroy it in a matter of seconds. Not minutes, not 10 minutes or 15 minutes, like 80 seconds, 95 seconds, 100 seconds. The kill chain, with the use of AI and all of this technology, is, in theory, astonishing. So we'll see if they can do it.
And in terms of the ceasefire being over or not being over, Pete Hegseth said he doesn't think that the ceasefire is over, but we did see attacks from Iran on the UAE and on Fujairah overnight. So, you could stand back and say Iran is violating the terms of it.
They are. I mean, there are 2 ways of looking at that. I mean, one would be to say, look, the Iranians are actually being a bit more restrained. They're indicating that they will respond, but they've not gone back to all-out warfare because they see that there's a better plan not to do that, and maybe they can get onto some sort of negotiation track again. So maybe they're being deliberately a bit restrained, or maybe this American operation, this sixth-generation warfare, means that this is the best they can do. And if that were the case, the Americans would feel very comforted by that. So we just don't know. But at the moment, I think, Pete Hegseth is right when he says we haven't given up on the ceasefire. This is not yet all-out war in the way that we had before the 7th of April, when this ceasefire was declared. It was all-out attacks. It may quite quickly get to that, but it's possible that the Iranians can't do more than they've tried to do so far. We'll find out in the next couple of days how many things might have been thwarted by this operation, which the Americans have spent some time putting together. Jack Keane at the weekend, retired general, but he's very close to the Pentagon, and they'd obviously sent him out to brief the media in the world. And he said, they have been working on this for a long time. And they've secretly demined parts of the Strait of Hormuz. They've got a channel which they know is safe. He said they've talked to the ship owners. I'm not sure about that. The ship owners don't seem to know. But he said, and they've planned this for a long time. CENTCOM hasn't been idle. They've been working this plan out over weeks, and now we're seeing it roll out. That's what he says.
OK, Michael, fascinating as always. Thanks very much.